rispetto al petrolio la coca è un velocizzatore economico ineguagliabile. Tant'è vero, stavolta chiudo davvero, tant'è vero che le organizzazioni criminali del Sud Italia impediscono la distribuzione di coca sul loro territorio. I casalesi, gli 'ndranghetisti per esempio di Locri, o ancora meglio di San Luca, Platì, Casal di Principe e Platì oggi sono le vere capitali della criminalità in Italia. Non si spaccia droga. E loro fanno passare questa cosa come una specie di questione morale. No, no, quella è vizio, quella è robaccia che i nostri paesani non devono prendere, che noi utilizziamo per rendere più forte il nostro ditte di cemento, ma che la gente del nostro paese non le deve toccare. Questa è una fesseria, non è una questione morale. La vera questione è che se permettessero lo spaccio sul territorio, inizierebbero ad avere molti più conflitti interni. Perché se uno di questi inizia a tagliarla un po' di più, no? Quindi ad allungarla, a iniziare a farsi il suo giro, sarebbe così veloce l'incremento economico che potrebbe in pochissimo tempo mettere su il suo clan. Allora, vietandola, impediscono che i propri uomini del loro territorio possano incrementare i propri guadagni. Se lo fanno con altro, si vede, cioè se lo fanno con le estorsioni o col cemento, la crescita economica, tu la vedi, la monitori. La coca, quello che ha di incredibilmente magico e terribile, è che dopa immediatamente il mercato, velocizza, se un'azienda come fanno gli italiani, no? A fianco al cemento, a fianco alla distribuzione della benzina, a fianco alla panificazione, no? Fanno di tutto, ci mettono il narcotraffico, le loro aziende diventano le numero uno. L'Expo verrà infiltrato non da imprese che vincono puntando la pistola in faccia agli amministratori o dando mazzette. Vincerà perché grazie al traffico di coca le loro imprese riescono a battere nelle gare d'appalto le altre aziende perché abbassano i costi. Quindi, per tornare al tuo discorso, quando negli Stati Uniti si è imposta la priorità del narcotraffico, non lo si è fatto per una questione semplicemente morale, non lo si è fatto neanche perché, come dire, bisognava dare un segnale inverso a quella che era stata la politica internazionale dei repubblicani. Lo si dà perché il narcotraffico mina le fondamenta del libero mercato. Non vince più l'imprenditore che ha talento, l'imprenditore che inizia a investire nel mercato e il mercato lo premia. Sta vincendo sempre di più l'imprenditore che dopa la sua impresa con una protezione illegale. Ecco perché gli Stati Uniti, per difendere i principi liberali, hanno posto il narcotraffico al centro della sua lotta.
Volevo sentire anche Misha su questo, sulla cocaina, l'Europa, e capire se ci spieghi quali sono le porte di ingresso in Europa dei flussi di denaro, dei flussi di contrabbando, della cocaina.
Well, Loretta was absolutely right about seeing an emergence of competition between cocaine and heroin in the 1990s. The situation you had at the beginning of the 1990s was that the United States of America, 5% of the global population, 40% of the world's cocaine consumption. They couldn't sniff anymore. They were doing their level best, but they were super saturated with the stuff. And so the Colombians were saying, well, you know, we've got to do something with all this extra cocaine we're producing. And so they said, Europe, it's the place, lots of yuppies there, you know, the boom is going, let's sell it to the Europeans. And so they said, that's good, but, you know, they know about the fact that we ship it in by the ton into Amsterdam and Galicia. Can we do anything else? And so they get together. I mean, this is done very consciously at the stage, at the level of major exporters. We know that there were a series of meetings, the main one of which was on the Caribbean island of Aruba, between representatives of the then Cali and Medellin cartels, who were still cooperating at the time, this is in 1992, and representatives of Sonsevar, the largest organized crime group in Moscow, and also of the Ndrangheta and the Mafia, which was brokered the meeting by two Italian lawyers who live in Brazil. And they said, what do we do? And they said, well, let's get all the extra cocaine to Europe. And so they said, okay, let's diversify the routes. And this is where you saw, first of all, the Balkans came in as an alternative route through Bulgaria, through Croatia, through Albania. Then you had the coast of Ireland identified as a very good way of getting cocaine in. And Spain and Portugal were just flooded with the stuff, and still about 50% go through there. And then, as Loretta said, you had the creation of the hub in West Africa. It's not just Guinea-Bissau, it is, as Roberto said, it's the whole sort of swathe of countries in West Africa. And here you look at places like Liberia and Sierra Leone, which have been through the most fearful conflicts. And for once, the West succeeded without, screwing things up too much in calming these conflicts, in getting rid of the rebel organizations and the whole network of blood diamonds upon which these wars were based. And we contributed to the stabilization of West Africa, and then we watched as the Venezuelan and Colombian cartels walked in, bought up government ministers, bought up the head of customs and so on and so forth, and turned this place into the cocaine hub for Europe. And so we now have these ferociously competing markets in Europe as well as in the United States. But there's something else that has happened, and that is, because of globalization, markets have opened up elsewhere as well. China has a huge heroin problem in Shanghai, all of it coming through Guangdong. Indonesia didn't used to have a heroin problem. It now has a major heroin problem which hooks in to the HIV issue as well. And it is believed that the place where you have the highest usage of heroin per head of population is Iran, next to Afghanistan, on one of the major routes going into Western Europe. So with this diversification of routes, you also build up new local markets, all of it uncontrolled, all of it associated with violence. And that's why I think we are seeing a change in philosophy. It's a very slow change at the, at key points of the global elite in Europe, South America, Canada in particular, and to an extent in the United States. Amazingly, the most active organization demanding the end of prohibition in the United States is called LEAP, which is an acronym standing for Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And these are serving and ex-police officers who are saying, for God's sake, help us. We cannot deal with the violence anymore associated with the narcotics trade. And so I think this is an issue that is going to really, we're going to have to start focusing on this as a global issue. I briefly want to say something about why you're all here, why it is astonishingly, as Roberto pointed out, that we've got so many people who are coming to listen about organized crime. Now, it's partly because we're in Italy and because you all here understand about organized crime in the way that people elsewhere in the European Union, and certainly in Western Europe, don't understand about organized crime. What I have found really, a year ago I was in Sassana at the Festivale del